project, and I'll talk about the locale now. This will be what I believe will be the most iconic building in Dandenong. Dandenong is a city of Melbourne. It's the second biggest city in Melbourne. So after the CBD, Dandenong is the second biggest city. It's 30 k's from the CBD. It's got easy access by train and by freeway, but also you have bus routes going. It's quite close to Monash University for those people interested in, say, something for their kids or otherwise. So this is how the building will look. It's 17 levels. It's got car parking in this particular area here, so it's got shops down the bottom, and then it's got 6 levels of car parking. And above that, you have the apartments themselves. So that's basically, it's a mirror image on each side of looking to the east and to the west. Okay, so one side looks towards virtually the city and the bay, and the other side looks to what we call Mount Dandenong. So you see here that Spectra is located within 10 k's of Monash. There's a proposed airport going in not too far from the particular area. The bay is 11 k's this way. The Dandenong ranges are 13 k's. There's a lot of light industry and manufacturing actually in the Dandenong region. So most of the people that live there have employment in the area, and we have a wide range of overseas immigrants into Dandenong. So I would say, based on the statistics, it's a roughly, 72% of people living in Dandenong were born elsewhere. Okay, so when we've taken people through that come from India, they're very comfortable in this area. Okay. Now the numbers similarly, read a really good story. So look at the price point here, 280k as a buy-in price. Now in Australia, that's a really good price point to come in at. Okay. And you can see the monthly returns here. 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, similarly, great price point, 380 up to 480. Again, the rentals are very high. So the demand's there. The demand itself comes from people moving into the area for work, new immigrants coming in that want to join people of their own race over there, and also Aussies like ourselves that have work in the area. So you can see there with an aerial overview, this is the building itself in terms of height, and it really does dwarf everything else in the area. Okay, so it will be the iconic building in Dandenong. You can see there that you've got the bay out this way, and you've got major shopping centres here. The railway line is 5 minutes walk. Major shopping, 5 minutes walk. So everything's at your fingertips. In terms of Dandenong itself, it also has a really good story about growth. So look at Dandenong proper here in 2006 up to 2011 in terms of the proportion of renters. So if you're buying this for an investment, you have a very high proportion of renters there. You've got a wide catchment of people available to actually rent your property. This is a typical 2-bedroom. And as I say, we can go through these with people to give you more information on each one. There's a 1-bedroom, but you can see the sizes are very generous. They're quite large. So you're talking here, 52 square metres internal, 7 square metres balcony, and that's one of your smaller ones. So we don't propose to offer anyone anything under 50 square metres when we source developments with our company. Okay, so it can be a difficulty for people to get borrowings. If you go in, if you get something for 40 square metres studio, you can really have some issues with that with borrowings. So we never recommend that. And this gives you an idea of what the finishes will look like, and typically when it's fully furnished. So we won't dwell on it, but just gives you a bit of an insight. And these are the views. So this is a view to the northwest, and you can see the CBD from there, albeit obviously a lot more distant than the Moonee Ponds. Okay. So that's looking out to the Dandenong Ranges out here. Fantastic place to go. A lot of people go for Sunday drives out to the Dandenong Ranges. And that gives you a view from the 12th floor. Now, bearing in mind that it is 17 levels, so this is only from the 12th floor. And that's a typical sort of winery that we visit in the Mornington Peninsula, which is, as you're heading out of town, you're heading in the right direction. So you're from Dandenong, you head for another 20 minutes, half an hour, and you're in this sort of winery area. So the money that's been spent within Dandenong at this stage, government money in the last few years has been over 400 million. So that's both state money and also local council. And also there's been significant developers building mainly industrial estates in the region as well, and they've spent equally that amount of money. So there's earmarked another 500 million to be spent over the next 2 years, revitalising and really developing this whole infrastructure for Dandenong. Okay, so we don't miss out on the house land, and this is in Sydney. So even though I've been talking up Melbourne, we know that Sydney's a great place to buy as well. And this is an offering in an area called Wilton, which is in southwest of Sydney. Okay, so it's basically been master plan designed by 3 different corporations, and those particular groups are building, Serena will correct me if I'm wrong, was it 1,200? 1,200 residences in the particular, sorry? And there's a 72-hole golf course going in to support the community. So I believe that also the development itself, or the master plan, has been accredited, if you like, as a green advanced development. Okay, so it's very green friendly. There's a lot of open area that's portioned to that particular master plan. You can see where where Wilton is. So it's called Bingara Gorge, and there's Sydney there. So it's 60 minutes drive, 20 minutes from MacArthur Square Shopping Centre, and 25 minutes to Wollongong. So Wollongong is here. Okay, and I can tell you I've driven down there a few times, and it's a lovely drive into Wollongong. So you can see there that you can purchase anything from 450 to 4,000 square metres. So if you want a big place, and like ride on mowers, you can grab that big land. But otherwise, 450 is a nice manageable area, and you can actually pick and choose what sort of design that you would like to build on your land. So again, I reiterate, anyone interested in talking about this style of development can see any of the people here from Sumo Austin Brothers. Okay? So look, that's all I wanted to cover. I hope I haven't been too long, but I appreciate your time, and I hope that that's of some interest to you. Thank you. Okay. Thanks. Oh, good.
Thank you. Thank you. Our third speaker is Mehul Somaya, who's going to speak a little bit tonight about the structure and the tax, about investing in Australia and what tax you'll need to pay. He's also going to run through some numbers, so I'm sure lots of people will have questions pertaining to this. If it's anything that you would like to ask straight away, please do. Otherwise, we will have a panel at the end. I've lost him. You right? Do you want this? Thank you.
Hello.
Hello everybody.
Thanks for coming in today, and thank you, Paul. Paul, where's Paul? And thanks, Suren. Suren's talk I've probably listened to, I don't know, 20 times by now, because I work so closely with Suren. And in spite of that, even if I listen to him for the 21st time, I learn something new. And not only that, I learn something disastrous, as if the world's going to end. Suren, but the theory never works. I mean, we still live, so I'm positive about the life. You know. And Paul actually glorified Melbourne too much for my comfort.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'm from Sydney. I love Sydney. Paul is from Melbourne, so he loves Melbourne. But I like to tell you that Sydney, unfortunately for you, is slightly better than Melbourne.
Oh, right.
And for all of us here, I just want to tell you this. Sydney and Melbourne have a love and hate relationship, you know. It's just like Mumbai, Delhi. And I've got a few people from Delhi here, so. Anyway, do I have space on? Okay, that's the only jokes I can crack. I have to wait now. For those, I think quite a few people do know me because I'm originally from Mumbai. I've lived here 35 years of my life. It's been about now close to 10 years that I've been in Sydney. Don't get me wrong, I love Mumbai. But I'm in deep love with Sydney now. Okay? And that's the reason I'm here. Basically, I've come and talked to my friends. A lot of my childhood friends are here, and I always tell them that if you don't want to come and live in Sydney with me, that's fine. But please, 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 at least invest in Sydney, right? Because I believe strongly, I personally so strongly believe that that's the place to invest. Now, also because I'm an accountant, these chaps gave me the job of talking the numbers. And they did all these fancy talking of displaying property around here. But no problem, I'll talk the numbers. But I believe that numbers is really the thing which actually works as well, right? Because we are investors. I mean, at least that's what you're here for, probably investment. And everything can look nice and flashy, but if the numbers don't stack up, I wouldn't make an investment, correct? So I believe the numbers do stack up, and I'm going to just discuss very shortly, because that's short time that we have, why the numbers stack up for investment in Australia. Before I again continue, what we'll do is, after we finish this, we're going to have dinner and we're going to have some networking and drinks together. So we'll obviously go and discuss more on one-on-one basis if you want to know a little more details, because only limited things I can discuss here on a slide with you. Also, we'll be here for the next about 4 days at the same venue, and I'd love to actually catch up individually with you as well, right? So we can actually go through a lot more detail about what the whole opportunity is. So this is more like a small teaser, if you like, just to discuss very briefly what the whole thing is about. But we just got so much of time. So let's see what we can do. Okay, let's go through some key financial facts. So I'm going to talk only about the numbers. And I thought, what way should I explain these facts to you? Now, obviously, because we are here, we understand the Indian financial aspects of it all. And the best way is, let me just make a pure comparison of how Indian investment numbers stack up with Australian investment numbers, right? So have a look at this. Is this all readable for the people at the end, by the way? All readable? Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, let's look at India first. Just ignore Australia for the time being. Let's look at India. Home loans. If you buy a property, you take a home loan, right? What's the interest rate? Is this right? 10.15%? Is that the home loan rate right now? Okay, well, I'm sure many of you are investors, so you would have probably invested 10.15%. So you buy a property, you pay 10% every year to the bank. Is that correct? Okay. And this property, you put it on rent, because we are talking of an investment. By the way, we are not talking of a property where you live in. We agree? Okay. You put that property on rent. What is the rental yield? 3%. I'm told that in certain areas or pockets of Mumbai, that figure could be far less than 3%. Yeah, there's a gentleman who says it's actually 2. It's about 2%. So pardon me, I should change that for my next presentation. It's 2%. Is that right? Okay. Tell me, you paid 10% and you are earning 3%, you are winning or losing? Winning or losing? Losing. How much percent? 7.15%. That means every time you buy a property in India, and if the property prices either don't go up or don't go down, the fact is you are still losing about 7% every year of the property value. Do you agree with that statement? Yes or no? So, compare this to Australia. Borrowing rate in Australia is 4.5%. So, if you take a home loan, you are paying 4.5% interest. Rental yield is 5%, right? So, you are paying 4.5, you are getting 5. So, you are losing or gaining? Gaining. How much? 0.5%. I say nothing, forget it. Let's say 0%. Basically, you are not losing anything. Do you agree with me? Right? So, basic stats, a simple comparison of the two countries as of now shows that if we were to assume that the property prices in both the countries neither go up nor go down, both remain stable, an Indian investment, you will lose 7% of the property value every year. Let's continue with these facts. We are talking of an investment properties. We are expecting that the property you buy, you will put it on rent. Do you know what the rental vacancy rate in Mumbai is? 22%. That means out of every 100 properties, 22 properties are always vacant, can't find a tenant. All of us, many of us are property investors here. How many of you agree with this type of a number? By the way, I have not taken this number out. This is basically from Google somewhere. Correct? So tell me, how many of you agree with this number? Do you agree? Is that right? The vacancy rate is about 22%. And I have my friends here in the real estate sector, and they tell me that actually that number is a bit conservative. It should be as high as 30 to 40%. This is the current state of residential rental market in Mumbai. If you compare that to Sydney, shockingly 1.4%. 1.4%. Out of 100 properties, only one property remains vacant. I bought a property a few months ago, Punch Bowl, we got that property. That property settled, let's say on the 1st of whatever, February, I don't remember the date. Say 1st February it settled, that means I was getting possession for that property. That property I rented it, right, on 27th of January, 3 days before I actually bought it. The properties don't stay on the market on rent even for 1 day. That's the current status of the rental demand in Australia. Okay, let me say Sydney at least, because that's where these properties are from. 1%? Okay, sorry, Melbourne, she says 1%. I'm not talking about Melbourne now. All right. Okay, the other aspect which I think is worth discussing. We all have experience of investing in under construction properties in Mumbai, is that right? So how many of you have actually invested in some under construction project? Fantastic. Okay, and be very honest with me. How many of you have had a wonderful experience? Only 4. So that means out of those 30 people who raised their hand, 4 had a wonderful experience, 26 had a lousy experience. Is that right? Well, I had a lousy experience myself. I invested in an under construction project in Mumbai. Lousy means so lousy I lost my money. The project never took off. 8 years it was stuck somewhere on level 7. The builder was bankrupt, and that's the story. But not a new story. I'm sure everybody knows about what I'm talking. But what's different in Australia then? Well, I'll tell you what's different. If you're buying a property under construction in India, you pay your money in stages as the construction is happening. That means you're paying slab wise. Is that right? We pay slab wise. And I think by the time we reach somewhere on top, you would have already paid 90% of the money. Is that correct? Correct. And you're hoping that the builder will finish on time and hope that you sleep well and whatnot. In Australia, if you are buying an under construction project, you are paying only 10%, and 90% you will pay only on possession. Finally on possession. So only 10% you're paying. That 10% as well, the builder does not get to see that money. The money is held in a solicitor's escrow. Which means what? Can I say with guarantee that your money is 100% safe? Do you agree with me?